On this episode of Guitargear1, we're going to be covering another very special guitar to me. This is my Heritage Les Paul, and if you don't know who the Heritage is, you never heard of that company, we're going to talk about them, we're going to tell you where they came from, why they're so interesting, and why these guitars might really appeal to you. So stick around, we're going to talk about the guitar and the company itself, and we're going to play a little. So welcome back to the page, and if you're new, go ahead and check out some of the other videos, see what you think, and thanks for tuning in, guys. So before we even start playing, I wanted to tell you a little bit about who the Heritage is, and why they're such an interesting company, and why it's such an interesting story. We're going to do some close-ups of the guitar in a second and do some playing, but here's the deal. Before Gibson Guitars moved down to Nashville, the original plant was in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Okay? And when Gibson moved, the original builders didn't want to move with the company, or at least a lot of them didn't. So what they did was they bought the original plant from Gibson in Kalamazoo. The original builders retained the original equipment that Gibson was using to build their guitars, and they continued producing their own models. So you're talking about the original, most experienced Gibson builders creating their own line of instruments, and that's who's making these guitars. And that workmanship really shows. This particular model, as you can see, is a Les Paul style guitar. And I say it's a Les Paul style because it's not a clone. You can see right away a lot of things, even through the camera. The headstock is much smaller than a Gibson style headstock. The body itself is quite a bit wider than a regular Gibson Les Paul body. I'd say it's at least maybe even a third bigger, substantially larger. This is the heaviest guitar I have ever picked up in my life, anywhere, ever, period. I actually don't remember what it weighs, but it's just astronomical. And like I said, we're going to do some close-ups, but this maple cap is like a mile thick. I mean, it's just crazy. This guitar is so heavy that, and like I said, we'll do some close-ups, but the strap locks on here are eating away. Like they're being routed out by the strap locks, you know, when they fit in, just from the weight of the guitar. So, if you don't believe non-weight relief bodies sound any better, this is not the guitar for you, let me tell you. And they make weight relief models. This is not one of them. So, relatively quickly, I'm going to tell you this. Here's the story. So, as I've mentioned in like my ESP review, my dad did own a guitar store in Wisconsin quite a while ago now, and he wasn't open really long, but he did get to meet some very cool people. He got to meet the guys at Heritage, got to be pretty good friends with them, and he told them that he wanted to have a guitar built for himself, and he wanted one for me. So one day my friend Robbie and I and my dad's friend George Bowman drove to Kalamazoo from Wisconsin. And this is the kind of thing that you just don't get to do. We go to the plant, the guys welcome us, we came in there, we got to meet everybody, shake everybody's hand, and we sat down and started discussing what I wanted in a guitar. You know, they were going to build me this completely custom guitar, I could have anything that I wanted to have done. And I've never had a Les Paul style guitar before, and that's what I wanted, and I told them that I was crazy about the idea of a natural top. You know, and I have a PRS, and I'm going to do a new review of that soon. But when you start looking at maple caps, picking out finishes is tricky. I mean, it really is, because the maple itself is so gorgeous that what do you put on it? I mean, does it take away, you know, from the beauty of the wood itself? And I just, I never came up with a finish in mind that I thought would actually look better than just throwing some finish right on top of the wood. So that's exactly what we did. And what was so neat was that they had all these planks of maple, and I got to go to the plant myself and flip through planks of maple and pick out my top. I told them I wanted an ebony fretboard. We basically did a Les Paul custom, you know, gold hardware, triple binding, front and back. There's headstock binding, there's neck binding. Again, the ebony board, but I didn't want to do the block inlays. A Les Paul custom is usually going to have those pearl block inlays. At the time I wanted trapezoids, which is what we did, and we did them out of this really figured abalone, which again I'll show you up close. And these pickups are hand wound at Heritage. They're called the HRW pickups. I got to personally meet and spend the afternoon with the guy that made these himself. Just as a side note, because I do like sharing this kind of stuff with you, the guy that we went with, my dad's good friend George, he was an excellent jazz guitar player. He was a jazz fanatic. I mean, he had just crates and crates and crates of old albums. He didn't, anything that wasn't jazz wasn't music. And he was quite a bit older than my dad. Very, very nice man. And again, he went with us. And my dad was having a jazz box made. He had like, I think it's a 17-inch deep traditional jazz guitar with dog-eared P90s in it. It's a gorgeous guitar. Maybe I'll get to do a review of it someday. Well, anyway, before our guitars were finished, George passed. He passed away, and my dad had a truss rod cover engraved with George. So he named the guitar George, and he still has it. And my dad has a huge guitar collection that he's always cycling through, but he's always kept George. And I just think that's a neat story. And it was so touching for me to get to meet the original builders and to have this made. So I wanted to share it with you guys, and it is just it's a superb guitar. So let's take a look at it. Let's do a little playing. You can hear how it sounds, and let's get to it. Well, boys, if there's anything we can say for sure, she's a looker. Again, this is just a supremely figured maple top. And again, you know, if you're going to make a guitar that's completely transparent and finished with no coloration at all, it's really important that you have just an exceptionally amazing top on there. And these guys, you know, really made sure that I got one. And right, again, so we have all gold hardware, black speed knobs, ebony fingerboard with these abalone abalone trapezoid inlays that I think just really look amazing. You know, this guitar just really speaks for itself. Everything about it. I mean, and it's interesting because you can tell it's all handcrafted when you look at the way the binding is. There's a few spots where you can actually kind of see a little bit of the glue. You can just tell it was a hand-done process. And again, I am shooting this with a film camera lens, so there's going to be, you know, times where this is going to go in and out of focus, but oh yeah. And like I mentioned before, in addition to being a very good-looking guitar, it is an extremely heavy guitar. I mean, this is one of those ones where you're not going to sneak through a long night of playing and your shoulder's not going to tell you about it. I'm just going to kind of keep yakking a little bit while giving you the rundown here of the guitar, letting you take a good look. But let's see if you can see how thick this thing is. But just an excellent American-made guitar, and really happy I have it, and I'm really happy I get to share it with you guys. So anyway, let's show you how. Well, let me show you the back before we start playing. But mahogany back, of course. You know, just traditional Les Paul styling there. Maple cap, mahogany back, two-pneumatic tailpiece. No fuss, no muss, pure tone. Ebony board, real snappy. So yeah, let's do some playing. So here we are, guys. We're going to start off on the neck pickup on the clean setting of the amp. And I'm going to start off with the tone rolled all the way up, and I'm going to kind of show you how versatile this guitar really is. And I think it was really meant for jazz players. When you roll the tone back down, it gets so warm and full, but it's not muddy and unusable the way it is on a lot of guitars. I mean, it really seems like the guitar was meant to be able to do that very well, and it really does. So we're going to start off full bore, turn it all the way up, and there's so many guys playing Les Pauls on YouTube, but I just want to show you some kind of pretty stuff and some kind of general things. But anyway, so we're going to start there, one of my tunes, but... again, playing with your fingers naturally kind of warms things up, but even still, you'll hear it. That's with the tone roll all the way down, and this isn't one of my songs, by the way. Play a little bit more of some, non-blues stuff just for right now. Say it out loud, but I want to transition between fingers and pick so you can see just how dynamic this guitar really is, because what you put into it is what you get out. I mean, it's really true. It's a very touch sensitive instrument. Here's with the tone rolled back up, by the way. Let's try that again, shall we? That kind of a thing. And I know I tend to play it a lot, but I love those minor 7th chords. And again, because I'm not miking the cab, which I hope you can obviously see, a lot of guys will put like a Shure 57 on there, and they'll use an external recorder and all that stuff. This is just the audio from my camera. So because of the influence from that and the compressor on it, I think by playing the same things with different guitars, you can actually get some kind of a quantitative analysis of different sounds. So I'm going to play a little bit of that minor 7th blues one more time for you guys and just let you see what you think. So starting off, tone all the way up. Roll that tone down a little bit, just play just a couple beats more of that. really wish I was much more of a jazz player, and I am not. I would never pretend ever that I can play jazz, but I really believe that's what this guitar was built in mind for. It's just really got that. What was that? Who knows? I'm not a jazz player, boy. Not yet. Hope to be someday. But anyway, that's the neck pickup. And play just a little bit on the middle and the bridge clean, just so you can hear if you roll back that tone. Super usable. Very full and fat. Show you can pick as hard as you want, and it still isn't overly trebly with the tone rolled back a bit, so you don't have to like cater to the pickups. The pickups can cater to you. Top end's still there where you need it, but it's very well balanced. Just great pickups. We'll do the same thing on the bridge just a little bit. We're gonna roll the tone back. I mean, just so you can hear it without the tone rolled back at all. I'm doing that. You hear how much pick attack and articulation still there? We roll that tone back a bit. I tell ya, doesn't want to stay in tune. But yeah, you know, you dial back that tone a little bit, and it's like, ooh, who are you? You handsome little W, and all of a sudden it becomes a very playable guitar again. So that's kind of that. That's kind of the rundown of the clean stuff, but we're going to show you how mean a Les Paul can get, because it can. So I did want to show you some of the meaner side of this guitar, and I think a lot of the people that would gravitate towards this kind of a boutique guitar aren't really going to be so into this kind of stuff, but if you are, I mean, and I play everything, this is kind of what you're up against. So we're in standard tuning, and I have the gain set pretty high and the angle, and it took me quite a while to adjust the EQ for this guitar versus like my 7-string in a much lower tuning. It took me a long time to find a sound that I'm even moderately okay with. So yeah, very versatile head, which is a very cool thing if you want it to be, and if you're just trying to hop from guitar to guitar, it can be kind of a hassle. So anyway, I'm going to start off with some single noted kind of stuff. We're going to need some chords, and again, we're going to start on the neck pickup. want to hear your note separation and that thick, 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 thick tone. Again, you can hear everything, you know. That kind of crap, you know. All day long, it's got that going on. And it's so cool because I was complaining about my ESP and I know like my Agile, they have very, very, very low profile frets. The wire barely comes off the fretboard itself. These are like, I mean, very, very defined frets, and you can really hear the difference, you really feel the difference when you're playing. Another thing I just want to point out really, really quick, I had just done a review of the bare knuckle pickups, and I talked about it's not when you play the bare knuckles the first time that you really appreciate them, it's when you go back to another guitar. And I always thought these pickups were pretty hot, but man, playing them now, I mean, it's just nothing else compares to having a super high output pickup if that's what you get used to having and that's what you like to have. So kind of a side note, but I don't want to spend too much time playing the neck pickup there. I'm gonna hop right on down to the bridge, skip the middle position altogether, just show you some chords kind of stuff. I'm going to put up the gain even just a little bit more. I mean, I'm really not getting that drive that I'm looking for. But again, I mean, you know, they talk about guitar sustain, things like that, and I know a lot of it's finger technique, but this guitar is inherently very akin to that. And just for the sake of really selling it, I'm gonna go ahead and drop down to D. Playing that kind of stuff because you get so much articulation out of this guitar because of that high fret wire, the massive body of this thing, the bridge, the pickups. It just makes for such a fat and full, package that's so articulate and just great sounding, you know. Got a little bit of that middle pickup action going on there. Let's go right up to the neck. Bridge again. And of course, I didn't do that on purpose when I flipped it to the middle position. And the reason that I wanted you to see that, the reason I'm leaving it in, I should say, I'm not editing it out, is because that's what happens when you have a guitar with a switch right there. And if you're trying to play stuff like this, that was just real life. So. You know, when you're picking up a guitar and you have options for switch placement, stuff like that, these are all things you're going to have to consider. And obviously, if I've been playing this guitar for a little while, I'd be used to having it there, and muscle memory would take over. And we wouldn't have had that, but, you know, just to show you that it does happen, and you just saw it. So there's that. I'm going to play a little bit more on the neck pickup on this filthy, gritty tone with drop D tuning. So... Let me get into position. Some of that tremolo picking so you can just hear how articulate it is. Stuff. And a lot of you are probably like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this in a blues review? The only reason I'm doing it is because this is such a versatile guitar. And whether you yourself choose to do this kind of stuff with it, completely up to you, but I think a lot of modern players are not really stuck in any particular genre. Like, I don't think a lot of young people are like, I'm going to be a blues specifically guitar player, I'm going to be a metal only guitar player, I'm going to be whatever. You know, things are very integrated these days, and I think our instruments, our amplifiers, the technology that we're using, it all reflects that. We all want to do everything nowadays because everything's cool. So anyway, I'm really glad I finally got to share this guitar with you guys. I hope you think it was a cool thing me to drag out, and I have a few other things that I'm going to be dragging out soon. So stay tuned to Guitar Gear 1 and see what comes up next.